All right, Shalom. Call Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakak Radah Shalom, and salutations and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, where I continue to learn this 100% truth from. They rule well, double honors. The water for your sacrifices and lessons. Shalom also to the elder bishops and the elders, the prophets, the teachers, and evangelists also of Great Millstone, where I continue to listen and learn this 100% truth from. Yahweh Yashab Brakatham. Shalom also to the elders. The speckled bird, the confused space, the Akim and Aqua, the Akim on the highways and byways, and last but not least, the elect. Back again with another video of Barak. And this video, I was scrolling through TikTok, and it was just going through the 250-year collapse of all the major empires. Also, Babylon here in America, which in a week, or next week, next week it'll be 250 years celebrating the empire of Babylon, aka America. So, I got the video that I was gonna play, and and give you some scriptures, and I pray that you be edified with it. So let's get it.
Every empire in history collapsed the same way, the same 5 steps every single time. And right now, America is on step 4. Now you want to know what those 5 steps are, and you want to know which one America is on right now. But before we get there, we need to go through history, because these steps were not written in a book. They were written in blood, over 2,000 years, by empires that all believed they were too powerful for the pattern to apply to them. They were all wrong. And the only way to understand what is happening today is to watch it happen before, in slow motion, one empire at a time. 117 AD. The Roman Empire has just reached its maximum size, nearly 2 million square miles of territory across 3 continents. Britain in the north, Egypt in the south, Iraq in the east, Portugal in the west. No empire in the Western world had ever been this large, and no military had ever been this powerful. And then Rome made the decision that every great empire makes at its peak. It decided to protect everything it had conquered, all at once, everywhere, simultaneously. Soldiers on the Rhine, soldiers on the Danube, soldiers in Egypt, in Syria, in Britain, in North Africa. The empire was so large that by the time a message traveled from one border to the other, the crisis it described had already changed. Rome was not losing wars. Rome was winning them everywhere, all the time. And it was still getting weaker. This is step 1, military overextension. Fast forward to the Ottoman Empire, 600 years of dominance across the Middle East, North Africa, and Southern Europe. At its height in the 1500s, the Ottoman Sultan controlled more of the known world than any ruler since Rome. But the Ottoman Empire had already passed step 1 long before, with its armies fighting on 3 fronts simultaneously. Persia to the east, the Habsburgs to the west, the Mediterranean to the south. And 3 simultaneous wars cost money, enormous amounts of it. The treasury that had once funded the greatest military on earth was now being consumed by the military it had created. Taxes rose, trade revenues fell, and the empire began borrowing from European banks, the very same European creditors who were also its geopolitical rivals. By the 1800s, the Ottoman government owed so much money to European creditors that it literally had to ask them for approval to manage its own budget. An empire that had once made Europe tremble was now financially dependent on it. This is step 2, financial drain. The British Empire at its peak in 1920 controlled 24% of the entire Earth's land surface, 412 million people across every continent on the planet, the most powerful navy in history, the world's reserve currency, the center of global trade, finance, and law, and Britain had already passed steps 1 and 2 a generation earlier. Its military was stretched across every continent, and its treasury had been drained by 2 world wars. But Britain still had one thing. Its allies still believed in it. India still fought for it. Australia and Canada still funded it. The Middle East still depended on it. And as long as those relationships held, the empire held. Then World War II ended, and something changed. Britain had won the war, but it had borrowed so much from America to do it that it was still making repayments to Washington until 2006. 61 years after the war ended, India watched Britain struggle and said, if Britain needs to borrow money to survive, it cannot protect us. And in 1947, India left, then Burma, then Ghana, then Malaya. One by one, the Allies looked at the empire and decided it could no longer deliver on its promises. This is step 3. Allies begin to abandon. And now, the Soviet Union. Because this is the step you have been waiting for. The Soviets had already passed steps 1, 2, and 3 by the time Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in 1985. The military was overextended across Eastern Europe, Africa, Asia, and Central America. The treasury was being drained by a defense budget that consumed between 15 and 25% of the entire Soviet GDP every single year. And Soviet allies, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, were increasingly restless, increasingly resentful, increasingly looking for a way out. The Soviets knew all of this, and instead of stopping, they invaded Afghanistan. 10 years, 15,000 Soviet soldiers killed, and the indirect cost was catastrophic. It exposed the Soviet military as beatable. It shattered the myth of invincibility, and it drained morale from an army that was already stretched across a dozen countries simultaneously. And here is the most important detail. At the exact moment the Soviet Union was bleeding in Afghanistan, America was watching quietly from Washington, counting the cost, watching the depletion, understanding that it did not need to defeat the Soviets on a battlefield. It just needed to wait. This is step 4. Too committed to stop, too proud to admit the cost, too powerful to be forced to change, until it is far too late. And now, with all 4 steps visible, look at America in 2026. Afghanistan for 20 years, Iraq, Syria, Libya, now Iran. And the Iran war alone is estimated to cost between $80 and $100 billion in its first months. But the financial figure is not the most dangerous number. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, America has already used more than 50% of its THAAD missile interceptors in the Iran war, more than 45% of its most advanced precision strike missiles, and nearly 50% of its Patriot air defense stockpiles. These weapons take 3 to 5 years to replace at current production rates. Iran's drones cost between $20,000 and $50,000 each, while America's interceptors cost approximately $10 to $12 million per unit, meaning America is spending millions to stop a $50,000 drone, hundreds of times per week, and falling further behind every single day. And China, like America watching the Soviets bleed in Afghanistan 40 years ago, is not fighting, not threatening, simply watching, counting the missiles being used, calculating the years it will take to replace them, and understanding that between now and 2030, while those interceptors are being rebuilt, there exists a window of strategic vulnerability that no amount of American bravado can close. Rome was on step 4 when it hired foreign soldiers because it could no longer pay its own army. The Ottomans were on step 4 when they borrowed money from their geopolitical rivals to fund their own survival. Britain was on step 4 when it won the Second World War and could not afford the victory. The Soviet Union was on step 4 when it invaded Afghanistan knowing the cost, and invaded anyway. And America is on step 4 right now. You have been waiting for step 5 since the beginning of this video, and every historian who has studied imperial collapse agrees on what it is. It is not a battle, not an invasion, not a moment you can point to on a map and say that is when it ended. Step 5 is quieter than that. It is the morning when an empire wakes up and the money is gone, the weapons are depleted, the allies have made other arrangements, and the enemies have simply waited long enough. Rome did not fall on a single day. The Ottomans did not collapse in a single battle. Britain did not lose its empire in a single war, and the Soviet Union did not end with a single defeat. They all reached step 5 the same way, gradually, then suddenly, then completely. And step 5 has a name. It is called imperial overstretch. Described by Yale historian Paul Kennedy in his 1987 book, The Rise and Fall of the Great Powers, written as a warning specifically about America, which became a bestseller and then everyone forgot about it. Step 5 has never, not once in 2,000 years of history, failed to arrive. The only question that has ever mattered is whether anyone in power was paying attention at step 4. Every empire in history collapsed the same way, the same 5 steps every single time. And right now, America is on step 4. Now you want to know what those 5 steps are, and you want to know which one America is on right now.
Let's get that.
But before we get there, we need to go through history gradually, then suddenly, then completely. And step 5 has a name. It is called imperial overstretch. Describe.
Let's get that name. Slovakia. Define imperial overstretch. Okay, let's get that. Imperial overstretch. is a geopolitical concept describing a situation where an empire or dominant power's international military and strategic commitments outpace its economic productive and societal resources. It typically leads to economic exhaustion, military failure, and eventual domestic decline. Okay? So that's what imperial overstretch is, which Babylon is dealing with right now. Let's get Revelation 18 and 2. And it reads, "And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is falling, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich, though the abundance of her delicacies. And I have heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye may be partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Reward even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she had glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow gave her, for she saith in her heart, I sit as a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. Ooh. Death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh thy power, who judgeth her. Okay? And that's heavy right there. Verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her. They're going to cry and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, At last, the great city Babylon, that mighty city, and for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. That's right. Kohalo Yahweh Bashin Yahushai. Let me get the next scripture. I didn't want to get into, constantly reading that. Let me see, Isaiah 13 and 19. In Babylon, Salakia, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by nuclear fire. It's going to happen to here in Babylon. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their food there. But the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and Satcheries shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and the dragons their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Esau's government and Esau's land is going to be destroyed. There's no way around that. Oh boy. Look here. Let's get Jeremiah 50. There's so much on there, so let's see, 50, and we'll start at 1. The word that Yahweh spake against spake against Babylon and against the Lord, the land of the Chaldeans, by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare ye the nations, and publish, and set up a standard, publish, and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Merodach is broken into pieces. Her idols are confounded, her images are broken into pieces. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein, and shall remove. They shall depart, both man and beast. Verse 9, Jeremiah 59. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country of Babylon, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Mama, are you gonna sleep in?
No, yeah, she about to go to sleep.
Revelation 17:16. I'm kind of sleepy myself. Revelation 17:16. And it reads, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. This place is about to be destroyed, man. It's setting up to be destroyed. Okay? Man, I'm getting sleepy. I'm going to get ready to end this. I'm going to be here talking crazy. Revelation 17:16, it reads, Salakia. Salakia, bear me for a minute. Zechariah 14:12. And it reads, And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. So Yahweh Shai is going to allow his men to get ready to destroy this place, because this place is worthy to be destroyed for everything that it's done. Luke 21:28. Luke 21 and 28, and it reads, "And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh." Yeah, Babylon's about to get ready to fall, man. So I'll be right to say you're edified with that, man. I'm getting sleepy, so I'm gonna get ready to lay it down. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.